Give me 16 minutes and I'll erase your weakness. Not because I'll give you motivation, not because I'll fill your ears with empty inspiration, but because you'll see what you've been calling weakness for what it really is. You think you are weak. You tell yourself you are lazy, procrastinating, anxious, or undisciplined. You have spent years trying to fix these defects with schedules, with motivation videos, with self-help books that scream at you to just try harder, to wake up earlier, to grind harder. But you fail, over and over again. And every time you fail, the voice in your head gets louder. You are broken, you are soft, you are not cut out for this. But Carl Jung, the man who mapped the deepest territories of the human soul, would tell you to stop. He would tell you that your diagnosis is wrong. You are not weak. You are fragmented. What you call weakness is not a lack of power. It is a civil war. You are not a car with a broken engine. You are a car with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, screaming down the highway until the wheels smoke. You have taken the most potent, aggressive, vital parts of your personality, your drive, your anger, your selfishness, your capacity for danger, and you have locked them in the basement because you were taught they were bad. And now you are trying to navigate a brutal competitive world using only 10% of your engine. Of course you're tired. Of course you're anxious. You are fighting yourself every second of every day. If you are willing to listen, not just hear, but listen with the intent to change, we are going to end that war today. We are not going to motivate you. Motivation is for children. We are going to integrate you. We are going to go down into the basement of your psyche, kick down the door, and unleash the very things you are most afraid of, because that is where your energy is hiding. Jung said, "I would rather be whole than good." Most of you are trying to be good, and that is why you are weak. Today we stop being good. Today we become whole. Part 1. The disease of niceness and the persona. Let's identify the enemy immediately. It isn't the world. It isn't the economy. It isn't your parents. It is your persona. Jung defined the persona as the mask we wear to fit into society. It is the social face. It is the smile you fake when you are angry. It is the yes you say when you desperately mean no. It is the polite, harmless, agreeable character you play to ensure nobody abandons you. You think this persona is you. You think I am a nice person. But Jung would grab you by the shoulders and shake you. That is not you. That is a cage. Somewhere in your childhood, you learned a fatal lesson. You learned that to be loved, you had to be compliant. You learned that aggression is bad. That selfishness is a sin. That pride is dangerous. So to survive, to keep the love of your parents or your teachers or your peers, you took a knife to your own soul. You cut off the sharp edges. You silenced the loud parts. You became a nice guy or a good girl. You became harmless. But here's the harder truth. Harmlessness isn't virtue. Real virtue is capacity under voluntary control. And weakness is not neutral. Weakness can be dangerous. Think about the people who have hurt you most in life. Were they the strong, open, integrated wolves? Or were they the weak, passive-aggressive, resentment-filled sheep who stabbed you in the back because they were too afraid to stab you in the front? When you repress your capacity for force, for healthy aggression, for authority, you don't get rid of it. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be displaced. It festers. It turns inward. That niceness you are so proud of, it's just cowardice with a smile. It's resentment waiting to explode. You feel it, don't you? That simmering anger when people talk over you. That exhaustion after a social interaction where you had to pretend to be interested. That is the cost of the mask. You are bleeding energy just to keep the wild animal inside you sedated. You are exhausted not because you are doing too much work, but because you are doing too much acting. Real strength, the kind that commands respect without saying a word, the kind that walks into a room and changes the temperature, comes from the capacity for danger. If you cannot be dangerous, you cannot be strong. You are just a victim in waiting, and the world eats victims. Part 2, the gold in the shadow. So where did your power go? If you cut it off, where is it? It went into the shadow. The shadow is the Jungian term for the dark side of the unconscious. It is the garbage can of the psyche. It is everything you refuse to be. But here's the part worth tattooing on the inside of your eyelids. Much of the shadow once owned turns out to be gold. Why? Why would your dark side be gold? Because along with your bad traits, your anger, your greed, your lust, your arrogance, you also threw away your spine. You threw away your ambition. You threw away your ability to defend yourself. You threw away your creative fire. You look at successful, dominant people and you call them arrogant. You look at wealthy people and call them greedy. You look at seductive people and call them immoral. You judge them from your high horse of moral superiority. But Jung would say, you are projecting. You hate them because they are living out the drive you repressed in yourself. That arrogance you hate, that is just confidence you are afraid to own. That greed, that is hunger you are afraid to feed. That aggression, that is the force required to build a life. Weakness is simply the refusal to own your shadow. You are weak because you are starved. You are starving for your own power, but you're too morally superior to eat. We are going to change that right now. You need to stop judging your dark side and start interviewing it. You need to find the monster inside you and make a deal with him. Because that monster has the energy you need to get out of bed in the morning. That monster has the fire you need to build an empire. That monster doesn't care if people like him, which means he is the only part of you capable of doing what is necessary. A person without a shadow is a flat two-dimensional cartoon. A person with an integrated shadow is a force of nature. This is the whole person Jung aimed at, individuation. A whole person is capable of kindness, yes, but they also have real capacity under restraint, and they choose kindness not because they are forced to, but because they can. Part 3. The Puer Aeternus, the Eternal Child. Now we must go deeper. We must talk about the specific type of weakness that plagues the modern world. Jung called it the Puer Aeternus and its counterpart, the Puer Aeterna, Latin for the eternal child. This is the person who physically grows up, but psychologically remains a child. And the defining characteristic of the eternal child is the provisional life. The provisional life is the belief that your real life hasn't started yet. You are just practicing. You are just waiting. You are waiting for the right time, the right woman, the right job, the right inspiration. You tell yourself, one day I will get serious. One day I will write that book. One day I will get in shape. But one day never comes. This is the ultimate form of weakness. It is a refusal to commit to reality. The eternal child hates boundaries. They hate schedules. They hate boredom. They want options. They want to be able to fly away to Neverland the moment things get hard. They think that commitment is a trap. They think that discipline is a prison. But Jung saw the tragic irony. By refusing to be trapped by discipline, the eternal child becomes trapped by their own irrelevance. They become a ghost. They float through life, touching nothing, building nothing, becoming nothing. If you feel like you are drifting, if you feel like you have infinite potential but zero results, you are possessed by the eternal child. You are addicted to the fantasy of what you could be, rather than the reality of what you are. Jungian strength is the death of the boy. It is the realization that there is no dress rehearsal. The camera is rolling. The clock is ticking. Every choice you make is carving your statue in stone. You cannot erase it. To erase your weakness, you must crash land into reality. You must accept that doing one thing means not doing everything else. That is the pain of adulthood. You have to sacrifice your infinite potential to become something finite, sharp, and real. A sword is only useful because it has edges. If you try to be everything, you are a sphere, smooth, pointless, and easily rolled away. Stop being a sphere. Become a sword. Part 4. Neurosis is a substitute for legitimate suffering. Why do we stay weak? Why do we stay in the pure state? Why do we cling to the persona? Because we are afraid of pain. But Jung had a brutal equation for this. He said, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. Read that again. Life involves legitimate suffering. It is hard to get in shape. It is hard to build a business. It is hard to speak the truth when your voice is shaking. It is hard to face the fact that you have wasted 10 years of your life. That is legitimate suffering. It is the fire that burns away the dead wood. But because you are weak, you avoid that fire. You avoid the difficult conversation. You avoid the risk. And what happens? You don't escape the pain. You just trade it for neurosis. You trade the clean pain of growth for the rotting pain of stagnation. You trade the sharp pain of discipline for the dull, aching pain of regret. You trade the fear of failure for the chronic, low-level anxiety of never having tried. You are not avoiding suffering. You are simply choosing the type of suffering that has no meaning. That is what weakness is. Weakness is meaningless suffering. Strength is meaning through suffering. If you want to erase your weakness, you have to stop trying to feel good and start being willing to feel heavy. You have to pick up a load. Jung saw that human beings are beasts of burden. We are not designed for leisure. We are designed to carry weight. When you have no weight on your shoulders, you don't feel free. You feel weightless. You feel untethered. You feel anxious. Part 5. The Ritual of Integration. How to Act. We have diagnosed the disease. We know the theory. Now we must operate. How do you actually erase the weakness? How do you integrate the shadow? We stop asking for permission. Weakness is the habit of looking outside yourself for the rule book. You wait for the boss, the partner, the parent, or society to tell you what is okay. You outsource your conscience. Jung invites you to destroy the rule book. Let me explain. When you want to say no to a request, but your programming screams be polite, say yes. I want you to say no. Keep it brief and kind. No explanations needed. And then I want you to watch what happens inside you. You will feel a pang of guilt. You will feel a flutter of panic. You will think, oh no, they hate me. That guilt, that is not your conscience speaking. That is your weakness leaving the body. That guilt is the sound of your persona dying. Let it die. Sit in the fire of that guilt and do not fix it. Do not apologize. Do not over-explain. Just let the silence hang there. When you feel a flash of anger, don't swallow it. Don't smile. Let it rise. I'm not saying you should punch someone. I'm saying you should use that anger to sharpen your speech. When you speak with anger integrated, your voice drops an octave. You stop using filler words. You stop giggling nervously. You speak with weight. You think people will hate you for this. You are terrified that if you drop the nice guy act, you will be abandoned. The paradox is the exact opposite. They won't hate you. They will finally respect you. People do not respect nice. They use nice. They step on nice. People respect gravity, and gravity comes from a person who has integrated their capacity for darkness. When you look someone in the eye, and they can sense that you are capable of biting, but you choose not to, that is called poise. That is called presence. That is called character. Harmlessness isn't virtue. The trustworthy person has real capacity under voluntary control and chooses restraint. Part 6. Killing the victim. The final stronghold of weakness, the deepest root we have to pull out today, is victimhood. Jung argued against the modern idea that we are merely products of our environment. He rejected the idea that you are just a bundle of traumas. He insisted you're more than what happened. You're also what you choose to become. Trauma is real. Anxiety is real. Family and systems shape us. But if you live only in that story, you lose agency. A victim-only identity can act as a shield, preserving innocence and winning sympathy at the cost of power. You can't keep performative innocence and full agency at the same time. Trade innocence for agency. Power requires owning your part. To be powerful, you must accept that you are the one who allowed yourself to be small. You are the one who stayed silent. You are the one who keeps betraying your own potential. No one is doing it to you. You are doing it to yourself to keep the persona safe. This realization hurts. Good. Let it hurt. Pain is a sign of life. The numbness you felt before was decomposition. The pain means you are waking up. Take your history, take your trauma, take your disadvantages, and throw them into the fire of your ambition. Stop using your past as an excuse and start using it as fuel. The most dangerous people on earth are not the ones who had it easy. They are the ones who went through hell and came back carrying buckets of water for everyone else. The shadow knows how to transmute pain into power. The persona only knows how to hide pain. Stop hiding. Conclusion: the dangerous saint. The diagnosis is complete. The surgery is up to you. You have a choice. You can turn this video off, go back to your scrolling, back to your nice life, back to the slow, quiet suffocation of your potential. You can stay fragmented. You can stay innocent. You can stay weak. And you can watch the years roll by until you are an old person filled with the bitterness of a life unlived. Or you can initiate the integration. You can walk out of this room and drop the mask. You can stop smiling when you aren't happy. You can stop agreeing when you disagree. You can stop apologizing for taking up space. You can go down to the basement, unlock the door, and let the monster out. This is about boundaries and clarity, non-harm, under conscious control, not to destroy your life, but to save it. Jung didn't want you to be a saint. He wanted you to be whole. But here is the secret that only the integrated know. A whole person is the only one capable of true goodness. Because when you are whole, when you are dangerous, you don't do good things because you are afraid of punishment. You don't do good things because you want a pat on the head. You do good things because you have the power to do them. You protect the weak because you are not one of them. So stop trying to be a good person. Start being a complete person. Reclaim your aggression. Reclaim your hunger. Reclaim your no. The world has enough sheep. It has enough victims. It has enough nice guys. It is waiting for a human being who has stared into their own darkness and found the light. The weakness is an illusion. The monster is awake. Now go use him.